So
I gather that Don Gibson had an effect in your... I can certainly hear Don Gibson in your singing. Of course, you did the tribute album to him.
Yeah.
Of his songs. And I gather that was more your roots than anything else.
Well, at the time, I had been singing 6 hours a night. Every song from any country artist that recorded, or all of them, if they were popular, we had to do them to stay in business, the dancing business, and the television deal, and all the pop records, and everything that anybody would listen to. So we had Mexican songs, we had country song, out and out pure country, but out and out pure pop as well, and also instrumental versions of big band stuff. We had to play In the Mood, all that stuff. So
that reinforces something that Rolling Stone once said. Ken Emerson and Rolling Stone described you as a sophisticated eclectic.
Yeah.
That you consumed, a million influences. And obviously, that's where it came from.
That's where it was.
Doing all that thing. Also, was somewhat critical of Sam Phillips. I mean, you said that you were frustrated with Sam because he let it all go by him.
Yeah.
That he started, never had a grasp. But I mean, how do you feel about that?
That's true. It's still true. It's Sam really didn't know what he was doing, first of all, and he was a kind man in that he would if he put you on his label, then he figured, first of all, he's done you a big favor, and you're indebted to him automatically now, a heavy debt, just for signing with Sun.
Yeah,
and then,
a bit presumptuous.
And then, if you get a record out and it goes to hitting, and there are 2 or 3 or 4 other guys on the label, whichever one takes off first, that's the one, because they can't switch pressing plants. It would be an impossibility if you thought about it. If you had, and say you didn't know what the future success was going to be, but just on the face of it, if you had Elvis Presley and Roy Orbison and Johnny Cash and Jerry Lee Lewis and Carl Perkins, and turned down Conway Twitty and turned down Sam Cooke, then you had all that, and you just let it all go.
Yeah, truth is stranger than fiction.
Yeah,
I mean, you couldn't have fantasized about a label having that talent.
No.
But you and Elvis were the two that were more pop.
Yeah, right.
And were you aware of that at the time?
Yes,
well,
I
you
was.
went through different times. Elvis had gone by the time you got to Sun.
Yeah, his real surge, was taken away by the Army, really, Yes. It could have taken a different turn, maybe, but it also held him in good stead. He was just sort of like put on the mantle until he got back out of the Army. Everybody didn't make any difference whether he had a hit record or not. Keep the name there, and just wait. So, but he and I were the only ones who did have that pop rock rhythm bass to lean on. I mean, I'd had drums in my group from when I was 14, and there were no drums on Sun Records until way in about Presley's 5th record, I guess, or something.
How much influence did Sam's recording style, was he able to wield over you? I mean, the slap bass, the no drums, the heavy echo. Did you go along with all that?
No. See, the thing was that there were no musicians either. Another secret of Sun Records. There were no musicians there. So if you didn't have a band, you had to get one. Yeah. And if you couldn't get a band, you had to get 2 or 3, or somebody who did something. So Presley did that with the guitar player and a bass.
With Scotty and Bill.
And Johnny Cash did that with the guitar player and a bass. And I had my own group, the Teen Kings, and he had an upright bass, and the echo was just that was the newest sensation, like when reverberation came out and stuff like that, and you put it in the car, to make records sound better than they even do on the radio. But the thing was, I didn't have anything to say about what I recorded and what I didn't at Sun Records. And first of all, he told me that I couldn't do Trying to Get to You, which was silly, because I could prove that I'd never talked to Sam Phillips. but I guess he had a contract to fulfill, a commitment there. So, but he did release it later. He put all of those things together, yes. And they've even released things now with just me and the guitar. But the thing was, they recorded anything and everything, conversations, and
well, but the bootleg albums out that, I mean, of all of you guys, with talking in the studio with Sam and outtake. There's a conversation of Jerry Lee Lewis talking about religion with Sam Phillips,
That's right.
Which is on a bootleg.
That's right.
So anything stamped with Sun has now taken on this enormous reputation.
Yes. Now, see, Sam sold Sound Records sometime back in 70, 71, but that the company is distributed and owned by a parent company. And guess who owns the parent company? Sam C.
I bet, didn't I? Right. After Sun, you went to Nashville and recorded only two singles with Chet Atkins for RCA.
Right.
Why only two? Why was that stage so short?
When we did, after the second record, Chet felt that he didn't see, there's a difference in personalities. He felt that he didn't have the power within the structure of RCA to do for me what I deserved to be done. He told me in so many words that same thing. He said, I can't do what I need to do for you because I don't have the clout. He said, I just don't have, yet. He was to get it later,
Of course. Yeah.
But at the time, as an executive, he couldn't say, look, release this, push that in this city and this city, all this stuff, because he couldn't even call the releases. If they said, no, we don't want this one, then they weren't obligated to release it. So I was in West Texas, and my manager, Wesley Rose, called me. And he said, how would you like to be on Monument Records? And I said, what's a Monument Record? And he said, well, come up and we'll talk about it. So I flew to Nashville and took a taxi to Acuff Rose to see Mr. Wesley Rose. And somebody said, Roy, you're late for your session. And I said, what are you talking about? He said, you got a session going on. Jump in the car. So I jumped in the car and we drove over to RCA. And the session was in progress. Only I wasn't there. And now that I was there, they just run me straight in the studio, and we started recording the same two songs that I'd done for RCA.
Well, which were they? I mean, your two RCA singles were Sweet and Innocent and Almost 18.
Yeah, well, we did one more that we redid with Monument that wasn't released because things were happening so fast.
Yeah.
Fred Foster had heard a record by Warren Smith, who was on Sun. And when Wesley Rose talked to Fred Foster and said, how would you like to record Roy Orbison? He jumped at the chance, but he thought I was the one that had a song called Rock and Roll Ruby. Instead of Ooby Dooby, he got mixed up. Yeah. So he signed me thinking I was somebody else.
Thinking you were Warren Smith?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
but
it all gets very complicated. But anyway, we made this record before I met Fred Foster. And so then I met him. We went to dinner afterwards, after the session was over. And I said, if I had known, I said, we've written a couple of songs. If I had known that we were going to have a session, I could have brought them, In other words, we could have finished them off up and polished them up and everything. So he said, well, when you get them together, come on back up and we'll do another. So we called him in about 2 weeks and said, we got it. It was uptown and the other side. So he said, okay. So he met us in Nashville. And then I said, my first big challenge in the music business, I said, oh boy, I hope I get to record with strings. Hadn't been down in Nashville before ever.
Of course, Sam Phillips would never have let you do that.
Oh, no, sir. He wouldn't even, we didn't even have a bass. We didn't have drums or anything, You had what you brought. And so I told Fred, I said, look, I think we've got something really good here, but we're going to have to use strings.